Isambulavinaka talofa lava malo elele, and welcome to Rugby World Cup on Island, the show that looks at the global rugby tournament in France through a South Pacific lens. On this, our final show, we are coming to you from the beautiful big island of Savaii. In this country, they say you haven't been to Samoa if you haven't been to Savaii. It's where people from Upolu go to get away from it all, and as you can see, it's a very stunning and special part of the world. And thanks to the Savaian Hotel in Lalumalava for allowing us to film in their beautiful grounds. Joining us today, my co-host, a man whose knowledge, warmth and wit on this show has proved just as captivating as his power and pace on the wing when he played. It's Manu Samoa legend, Tuilagi, Alesana Tuilagi.
Talofa.
Also joining us, well, he was a fixture for Otago and the Highlanders in Super Rugby, London Irish in the UK and the Kubota Spears in Japan, one of the smartest and hardest running centres in the game, who has seamlessly transitioned to coaching and has just returned from France where he led the coaching team for Manu Samoa. Please welcome Valvasa Manea Seilala Mapusua.
Talofa.
Yeah.
And they say they measure of the greatness of a player as if they change the way their position is played. This man did that when he burst onto the world stage for the All Blacks. Barely out of high school in West Auckland, the son of a Welsh dad and a Samoan mum, he soon became part of the Auckland team that dominated New Zealand rugby in the 80s and 90s. Oh gosh, those were the days. He helped the Blues to the first 2 Super Rugby titles, scored the first try in the very first Rugby World Cup in 1987. There's a statue of him outside Eden Park doing exactly that, and he may be the only Samoan to have a statue in New Zealand. He has previously coached Manu Samoa, the Pacific Islanders, and he was once described by Coach John Hart as the perfect rugby player. Knighted in 2017 for services to youth and the Pacific community, he's an absolute legend. Please welcome Savai, Sir Michael Jones.
Thank you, Oscar, for those kind words.
Oh, gentlemen, so nice
You're
to
a
have
fellow
you.
Westie, so you had to talk it up, right?
I have to, West Side. Gentlemen, lovely to have you on the island and especially in Savaii. Welcome.
Whaftai lava, Oscar. It's awesome to be home, and what a stunning backdrop in terms of the last show.
Yeah, everyone always thinks it's Photoshop, but no, this is real. Hey, when we do our pictures from here, hey,
Yeah, just make it feel it.
We are real people.
Now, coming up, Tuilagi turns roving reporter to get the thoughts of locals at a local sevens tournament, and a lovely interview with him from his backyard. We will discuss a couple of issues that arose from the World Cup, and of course we preview the mouth-watering final that we're in store for between New Zealand and South Africa. But first, let's look back at the 2 semi-finals, starting with South Africa and England. Tuilagi, you were firmly in your family business camp, backing your brother. What did you make of the game?
I think that was a good game, to be fair. It's, against the world champion. It's hard to beat them, but I'm very proud of Manu and his team. They play hard. It's really, really hard against the Springboks. But I can see them wanted to win.
Yeah.
England, yes. But congratulations to South Africa.
Yeah.
They play really well.
Vavasa Manei, how did you see this one?
I thought England were very unfortunate. I thought tactically and the desire was there, and I think like the rest of the world, it looked like they were on their way to a final.
Yeah.
But champions always find a way to win, and that's exactly what South Africa were able to do. So it was a tough one to call, and I think it was a game that not many people expected to be that close. So it's hats off to South Africa. They're going to the big dance again.
Again? Savai?
I suppose, as Alesana mentioned, because of that connection with Manu and I suppose the Vunipolo brothers, there's a part of the, as Pacific Island, you always want to see those boys do well. So we were disappointed for Manu, but absolutely, I think the best team, personally, one of the teams that have really stood out during the World Cup, bet France, have been one of the high flyers, bet the All Blacks, pre-tournament. And I think it's, they deservedly are there. They're really good at timing their run, and they did that so well in the last World Cup. We always knew as All Blacks playing the South Africans that they would never say never. They would never dead and buried. And they have that mentality. I mean, it's part of who they are. It's in their DNA.
Yeah.
And I think that really came through in that last few minutes. Credit to England, though, the fact that they were able to, make another semi-final and get to that sort of last couple of weeks is pretty amazing.
When you look at England, it's like they played the ultimate version of Coach Steve Borthwick's boring but effective game plan. They strangled Argentina with that plan with 14 men. Samoa forced them to play some rugby, right, by scoring tries early. But I'm kind of, as a fan, I'm kind of glad they didn't win because in football, it's like parking the whole team in front of the goal and then just waiting for a mistake.
I mean, I'm not going to say I wasn't unhappy that they didn't win. Yeah, no, they're a great team, and as was mentioned before, they've come a long way since pre-tournament when their own public were writing them off, and to see them make it to the Final Four and be there at the business end of the Rugby World Cup is it's pretty awesome to see that they'll do whatever's needed.
Yeah. It was a complete contrast to the other semi-final, New Zealand versus Argentina. The All Blacks machine ticking along nicely, Valvasa Manea. Hey, there's a lot to admire about that.
There really is. And again, they seem to be a team that's timed their run really well. From losing the first game of the World Cup to now, I think they scored almost 200 points in the next 4 games, and they just seem to be peaking at the right time, playing really good rugby. And I think that quarter-final against Ireland has really set them up to really challenge for a 4th title.
Yeah. Did you like that game? All Blacks looking.
I love it.
Yeah.
But the only thing, to be honest, did Argentina deserve to be there?
Oh.
Do you know what I mean? There were 2 teams that out of the tournament from the quarterfinals that deserve a spot on that game. Eh?
Yeah.
But
You think Wales would have put up?
Wales, Ireland,
more?
France would be
Yep.
a good semi-finals. But look at that, 44-6. That's too easy for the All Blacks.
Yeah.
It's too easy.
Could that be a disadvantage going into the final? That the fact that they had such a comfortable win in their semi, Salve?
Yeah, I've got a lot of faith in Fozzie and his 3 or 4 wise men. I mean, they've taken a lot of learnings out of the last World Cup. In some ways, it's not a bad thing to be able to win well. It builds the confidence. I know for the All Blacks, yes, they had that hard stop, and boy, wasn't that a game in the quarters against Ireland, right? So to have this game where they could just go out and express themselves, try things, do things, the game plan is looking good in terms of how they're shaping, and I can't see them not changing much to beat the South Africans. And yes, maybe we might have liked to have played the English, but we love playing the South Africans in terms of New Zealand rugby and the All Blacks. That's nothing bigger than the mystique and the significance of playing the Springboks, especially in a World Cup final. And it doesn't get any better.
And we'll see, because they've both got 3 titles now, eh? So whoever wins will have bragging rights to have the 4th.
Absolutely.
So there you have it. We started with 20 teams and now just 2 remain. What a final between the 2 best teams at the tournament, you have to say. Now, during our time here, there was the Iva Savai Sevens tournament played in the beautiful village of Iva. Tuilagi went along to get the mood of the people about the big game coming up.
Hey, talo falava. Welcome to Prince Edward Park here in Savai. Let's go find out who's the favorite to win the Rugby World Cup. Let's go.
Ke mai mole ka long ka misanga le World Cup.
Oi fodo swafo. Pele le kalo I presiopo pele. Ele fa ini se fa Samoa o mai.
Ele kofi bengal bel.
Aka alo la feri kamera manyu sila I mari. Esko wa ngai. Ele fa ino. New Zealand.
No New Zealand. Maro si New Zealand tama.
New Zealand.
Federico.
Alu bela wang.
Eu go bonjour.
Ai. Somos mai Federico ro komba.
Io, ka po yung silo. Kit ko kakala yung silo.
Ai ya
Ha?
ya sau au lai au.
Ah, okay, abla fali.
Ai sorry.
Pama Afrika. Aules ka kal. Uja. Oh, boleh bang ko mai.
Oh gosh, let's talk about you know, because we've got you here, Valvasa Manea. I mean, it would be a shame to waste this opportunity to ask you about your time there. What was the? I mean, you're exhausted. You've had a crazy 4 months. You know, you deserve the chance just to rest and reflect. But you know, off the top of your head, is there any kind of big lessons that you took?
Yeah, I think there's a lot to take from the last 4 months, Oscar, and the thing that sticks out for me the most is for us as Mon Samoa. I think time is the biggest thing for us. Time together, and time to actually be able to prepare. Like we had a 3 month run in into the World Cup, which was. It's the longest, it's the longest the Mon Samoa's been assembled, and you know, we're competing against teams that have been preparing for the last 4 years. That was a tough one to take, because we always want to do the best that we can, and we always felt like we were very well prepared. And you know, once we got into the competition and got our first game under our belt, it kind of all just flew by really quickly. So I'm sure we'll be dissecting the last.
But
few
you're
months.
right. It wasn't a long runway that you had, 3 months. It'd be nice to have a whole 4 years,
Oh.
like the big tier 1 teams. Like they planned 4 years. They've got the core of their team together for that time.
It would be awesome.
Yeah. You raised the question of unconscious bias, and I'd love us to discuss that. How did that question come up at that press conference for you? Oh, sorry, and I should mention Fiji coach Simon Reiwailui has echoed it.
Yep.
As well. But how did that question come up?
It was actually post-England game, and obviously very disappointed at that point. And I had an English journalist ask me in the press conference, you know, talking about, you know, we don't have a lot of time together as a team, and you know, did I think that our team needed to spend more time with these top-level referees to understand how they're ruling and to understand how they're refereeing the game. And I actually had to kind of check around it to make sure I was hearing this question right.
Wow.
And it was then and there I just said I disagree with the statement. We have players in Mon Samoa that play in the same competitions that players in England play in, the players in South Africa. The top teams in the world, and you know, we had a guy who's playing against most of his teammates. So we're playing the same competitions with the same referees, you know, week in, week out throughout the year, and then all of a sudden we throw blue jerseys on this group of players, and they referee differently, and that's where
Where that came from.
the notion of an unconscious bias. So you know, I gave it to the referees. I was trying to be as diplomatic as possible with the emotions at the time, and yeah, I think that's where it came from.
Yeah. What do you think?
As Lala was saying, we can't treat us differently, different ways, you know, because we all play in the same competition. We know the rules, we know everything, but it's just the treatment of the small islands that we have to look to it, you know. That you can't treat England as England. You can't treat Samoa, Fiji, and Tonga as different.
As a small, tiny
nation. Yeah. Yes. I'm not sure about Sir and Max, but that's me.
Yeah. So
That's me.
as our elder statesman.
What it does highlight, Oscar, is how critical it is for referees to get it right, obviously, and yes, they're only human, but to be held accountable. I know, having been a coach, again, you know, we had to ensure that a group of mainly amateurs had to somehow be twice as good as the opposition, because we knew that they'd be sort of watching us a bit harder, because we weren't the professional team, we weren't the the number 2 team, we were the number 10 or 11 or 12 team in the world. So there's this thing that happens where if someone's got a make a mistake, it's probably more likely that it'll be the Manu Samoa or the Kalatahi or the Fijians, or the Georgians or the Uruguayans. It's just something about what I've seen in rugby. So, I mean, I suppose is how do we rectify that? You know, what are the standards we've got to put in place? You know, so my heart went out to our, you know,
Our teams.
Vavasamane and our boys and Tana and the coaching staff, because you can do everything you can to make sure you eliminate, you know, any poor discipline, or, you know, you can work on it. And you, again, you don't have enough time to get it right, but you hope that when you do get it right, the referees get it right too.
Yep.
So that's the challenge.
Gosh, we could talk about this until the cows walk down the road to the Savai'i market. Now, every week on the show, we have featured stories where a player connects or reconnects with some aspect of life in the islands. For our final show being in the big island of Savai'i, we got to hang out at our co-host Tuilagi's house and had a rather lovely chat with him. Let's take a look.
Talofa, Alesana Tuilagi, leo ka ko I le makongu leo patausi sa foto la fai. Ea o I lenga makongu la mai mo uso, mo makua, I ngei Savai'i. O luma I mako malai la ka pi aso ia. Ko kuli ako mako I mako fai ka disami. Kami nga amakai le uka langa la ka pi. Pesa avea ma mea foi le ka o ka ko mo le faaf. Pero nga mai kai mi ka alo se au yang sa ula ia imu fai le pa ki pese me faaf wa walu lua. Ya piki lo ha uia le kai ko fiku. Ya pe nga makai lo ko nga. Ile ila ile se me ka alo me le a o se me o se rumanga I ka ua mo ka ika. Ele se me fai ngo fie foi. O le me ka unga ku a ko yelo ma fa fa mo lo ko a ko. Sa mo le se ku ke le. Ya le wa vere le ka le ni le. Ya. Wa o mako fa ali ko ia mako mga ya uso. Si o ka ko ko yo pe sa mako ka ku nga le ka ko e mika mika foi lo ka mo lo ka nga ia ka sa foi ni mako ngai ka mai ngu fa ka. Ya. O mika mika foi si mako ngu ma pa pe o so le ya o mako wale mang sa mo ko mako ngu. Ia o pe o mika mika nga sa ka ika mo ka nga sa lo ka olang.
Rosa wo. Tuilagi.
Great stuff. Now, apart from the final, there is another game that's still to happen, the playoff for 3rd and 4th between Argentina and England, but that's such a dumb game. I don't know why they have that. Do we have to talk about that one, the playoff?
Played one of those. It's
fun.
Ugly. It's not fun. But we won it, but it feels very hollow.
Yeah, especially in rugby when you've been smashing each other and then you're getting over the disappointment of not making a final, and then you've got to turn up for this game.
Especially those two teams that lost the semis probably been on a bender for about 2 days.
All right, let's look
But
straight.
never the Manu Samoa.
No. They ain't.
All right, let's get straight to it. Time to preview the final and the two teams' chances in this big match. Let's start with South Africa. Vavasamane, what do you reckon?
I think I think the weather will dictate the final. I think if it's similar to their semi-final, then we will see a very forward-oriented game with South Africa. But I think if it remains dry, it'll probably suit the All Blacks and the way they want to play. So I don't know what that actually means. but
so you're actually picking New Zealand if it's dry track?
I am. I think less handling areas, so less scrums. As we can see, as we've seen, the South African scrum is an absolute weapon for them. And now that they've got their general back in Andre Pollard, it'll be interesting.
He wasn't even supposed to play in the tournament. He only got on because Malcolm Marx was ruled out.
Yeah, correct. So,
Tuilagi, what do you think of South Africa's prospects?
I just go for All Blacks. You know, I'm still angry from the weekend.
You spent the last 2 days having therapy to get over that.
Yes, I tried to get over it. So I just go for All Blacks straight away.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So Michael, how's South Africa looking to you?
Well, one thing that we all know is that for the Springboks playing the All Blacks, it brings back out the very, very best of a Springbok and South African rugby. So it's the same for the All Blacks. When we play the Springboks, it brings out everything, you know, the very, very best of being an All Black and what our heritage and what our DNA is. So the loose forwards, you know, if you think of Vimerson and Sia Kolisi and of course Steve Toy, and then our loose forwards of Shannon, Sam and
They match up pretty well.
Yeah, that's where we'll win the winning and losing game for me. I'm a bit biased being a loose forward, but if Artie, Sam and Shannon play the best game of their lives, we're going to win the World Cup.
Yep. Before we look at the other team in the final, of course, the All Blacks, it's time for our in memoriam section where we honour and remember players from our part of the world who've left this life, but of course will never leave our hearts and memories. The sad thing here is that there have been so many that we've run out of episodes to honour and remember them all. So for this, our final episode, here is a final roll of honour as we remember those rugby heroes who have passed. Okay, it's time to look at the other team in the final. Of course, New Zealand. These two teams haven't met in a final since 1995. There's no Nelson Mandela now. There was a huge moment. I feel like they had Nelson and God on their side that year. Vavasa Mane, Savai mentioned that the Lucy's clash will be huge. Where else do you see the real key parts of this game?
I think obviously everything's won in the midfield. Won and lost in the midfield.
I knew we were going to come back with that.
But I think the back three, the back three in the aerial game will play a big part in terms of winning the kick battle. I think that the Mounga and Barrett working in tandem with the likes of Mark Telea and Will Jordan, when they go well and they're diffusing those high kicks, it really creates a platform for All Blacks to counter-attack off, which they're very deadly at, and something that the Springboks didn't face in the semi-final against England. So I think in the back three will be a very important part of the game.
Tuilagi, you're going for the All Blacks.
Absolutely, 100%. But I think the set piece will be the key of this final.
Yep.
Yeah, because South Africa, they're a very strong team and up front, you know, and the scrum and lineouts, the driving modes and I think that's where South Africa's their strength at. But the ABs, the All Blacks, they're doing things, everything's wow. So they all set for any kind of game plan that South Africa's going to bring on.
What about the battle of the bench?
Yeah, because the South African bench really made a difference when they came on against England.
Very tactical. I mean, you know, you've got to take your hat off to Russie and all those South African brain power. They're probably one of the most creative and innovative coaching staff. And you know, who would have ever thought to do that? You know, they're challenging the norm. So, you know, they might even put a whole forward pack on the reserves bench, and it's not illegal. You never know, they might have one half pack. But so they changed the game again against England by doing that. And so how does the All Blacks combat that? Selah's absolutely right. That could be how we pick the bench, and how they pick the bench could be a turning, you know, could be where it's won and lost. You're right.
Well, who knew that when you take a mark, you can call for a scrum?
Yeah.
Because we've never seen that, right?
Never seen that.
And then they called for a scrum and they won a penalty.
Yep.
And of course, with South Africa and New Zealand, it's always 50-50. So South Africa won their quarter by 1 point, their semi by 1 point, but you only have to win by 1 point.
And that could be the final result, a 1-point to the All Blacks.
Savai's got the All Blacks by 1 point. What's your prediction?
I think by All Blacks by 10 points.
Oh.
Yeah, it's going to be go ABs.
I think the All Blacks are going to take this one by 3.
Wow, gentlemen, thank you for your presence. That's our show. Thank you for your knowledge and the mana you have brought our humble little show. Safe journey back to Aotearoa for you, Savai.
Well done,
Sir
Oscar,
Michael.
and the team. You guys have been awesome, and privilege for me to be here with these two greats that I had the privilege of coaching, Alesana and Seilala Faftai.
Awesome. And Vauwasa Manea, safe journey back to your family in Upolu where you live. And all the best for the next few months. I hope you stay on.
Me too.
Big thank you to all the Pacific rugby heroes who have come to Samoa to be on the show, especially our Tongan and our Fijian brothers. Tuilagi, you're an absolute natural on TV. Your brothers have done so much for the country and for rugby here. We knew we'd have a good show when you agreed to be on every week. So
Thank you, Oscar.
thank you, brother. And thank you to our global audience who have tuned in every week from Africa, Europe, New Zealand, Australia and beyond. Enjoy the final, take care of yourselves and each other. And from all of us, the tiny but mighty team at Coverball Media who are behind Rugby World Cup on Island, Vinaka Vakalevu, Maloa Pito, of Tailava and Tofa Soifua from right here on Savai, the big island in beautiful Samoa.